Imagine you would have a museum about yourself. What part of your personal history would you like to show to every visitor? How would you tell it? What kind of objects would you choose? Objects related to your childhood or travels, family memories, or heritage from your ancestors. All these objects of your private museum tell stories about you as a human being, and they are powerful clues to your values and your identity. By connecting to cultural heritage, we better understand who we are, the way we feel, think, act, and relate to it determines our human identity. This connection between people and objects relates individual stories to a collective history. I can illustrate this with my experience. Being engaged with objects conservation for more than 20 years, I uncover and explore inner messages that enrich me and with which I identify every time I work on an object. I had the privilege of restoring the Harapan vase, an archaeological ceramic object from the Middle Bronze Age, around 2500 before Christ. This vase was most probably a wedding gift. Can you imagine that it was transported for 1,800 kilometers to Oman in the Middle Bronze Age? As I was restoring it, I realized how this single object contributed to cultural identities merging, transferring and adding values from one culture to the identity of another. Each time I work on an object of cultural heritage, whether it is from a museum with thousands of years of history, or if it is from someone's grandmother's private collection, I am overwhelmed by how much it can tell us. Of all the objects I have worked on, there is one that stands out as the keystone of my identity: azulejo. Azulejo is a fired ceramic plate glazed with decoration on it. It has an Islamic origin that goes back to 400 before Christ. You can find ceramic tiles in many places around the world, but in no other country is it so closely linked to the identity of a people for such a long period as in Portugal. This is how the first azulejos in Portugal looked like. It was 500 years ago when the brightness and color of the Spanish style seduced the Portuguese. Since that moment on, azulejos began to spread among the Portuguese nobility and religious institutions as a powerful way to demonstrate a high social status. Yes, Portuguese like to feel themselves unique. In the 16th century, Portuguese artisans found a way to express themselves with maiolica. This new technique allowed them to paint directly on the glazed surface, being able to express with complete freedom. The era of azulejo expansion has begun, bringing with it new styles and new aesthetics. The way Portuguese are open to other cultures, the way they are curious and tolerant about others, reflects in the 17th century tiles. You can see exotic animals, buildings, people from the interaction during the discovery expeditions to Brazil, Africa, and Asia. What about blue and white azulejos? Everyone knows Portugal for this color combination. Was it another disruptive change in technology? No. It was an aesthetic way for the Portuguese to show off their desire for perfection and sophistication, resembling porcelain, a very expensive and exclusive material. Once again, Portuguese found a way to show off their vanity and their pride, and it's still in the Portuguese DNA. If you walk around Lisbon or travel around Portugal, you will see azulejos everywhere from different periods, shining and showing the evolution of taste and technology to the present day. Azulejos are a continuous learning tool, as well as an emotional generator. Azulejos tell us stories about Portuguese identity. Heritage tell us stories about human identity. Objects tell us stories about our own identity. So, for you to choose your objects for your museum, you know now what kind of objects would you choose. Objects enrich us with feelings and ideas. Heritage make us authentic. When choosing your museum objects, ask yourself, how will the stories of my museum have an impact on others, making them better humans in the future? Heritage is the key for human identity. Thank you.